Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's council meeting. If you haven't already, please silence your cell phones. City of Anamosa City Council Agenda Regular Session, Monday, February 24th, 2025, 6 p.m. Anamosa Library and Learning Center. 1.0 roll call.
Crump.
Here.
Smith.
Here.
Tukin. Here. Weimer.
Here.
Dan Smith.
Here.
Pepper.
Here.
All council members are present in chambers. 2.0 pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
3.0 consent agenda, review and approve. There are 4 items listed on the agenda. I will read all 4. Council can make a motion that includes consent, which will bring all the items up for discussion in one single vote. Or council can make a motion on any of the items. Item A, minutes from February 10th, 2025, regular session. Item B, minutes from February 17th, 2025, budget work session. Item C, current bills. Item D, liquor licenses.
Move to approve a consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Brooke. Council, feel free to discuss any of the 4 items. The public have any comment? Gina, would you conduct a roll vote, please?
Crump.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer.
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Motion for consent agenda approved. 4.0 public hearings, none. 5.0 proclamations, none. 6.0 postponed items, unfinished business. 6.1 ordinance 965, second reading. Amending the Anamosa Code of Ordinances by amending chapter 165.23, item 3, pertaining to supplementary district regulation fences.
Move to approve ordinance 965.
By Rich, second by Teresa. Council discussion.
Have any comments? One comment in favor of, no other inquiries or questions. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on the agenda item? Gina?
Smith.
Yes.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer.
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Pepper.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve second reading carried. 7.0 council action items. 7.1 project status update, HR agreement.
Hi, everyone. I'm Haley Gendrich with HR Green. Melissa Clow is called in. So if there's any questions on some of these items, feel free to just shout them out and hopefully Melissa can answer most of them. Otherwise, I'll just go through the action items of the 8 active projects we have, starting with number 1, the 3rd Street Sidewalk Project. So HR Green will work with the DOT to send award letters and funding agreements to the city for execution. The city council is required to review and approve the funding agreements before the project letting date. Preliminary plans are due on or before May 20th of this year and are currently being developed. 2, sidewalk program. This project's currently on hold until further direction from the city is provided. HR Green will provide recommendations and costs for performing a citywide survey of existing sidewalk and ADA ramp conditions that would provide the information necessary to begin drafting a fair implementation plan and schedule for the program. Discussion regarding the recent Iowa State Supreme Court ruling is recommended. The Well 7 siting study, HR Green is to send next steps to the city for land acquisition. Number 4, the water treatment plant disinfection project where we switched to chlorine bleach. The contractor completed final punch list items and the project is considered substantially complete and operational. Number 5, the sewer project in the alley between Ford and North Huber. It sounds like we're down to just one easement for that one. So depending on how these amendments that are later agenda items go, we can go ahead and get that re-permitted and ready to bid as soon as possible. Number 6, the city GIS project. We're just continuing to maintain the GIS database, and then work is ongoing with the headstones and plots project as well. Number 7, the Dillon Military Bridge. HR Green will prioritize gathering funding information from local, state, and federal agencies regarding funding opportunities for rehabilitation in place versus relocation of historic bridges in the next month, and will develop a plan to share with the city council. And then lastly, the sanitary sewer rehab project near Elm Street and Hickory Street. So that one, I submitted the permit application to the DNR for the construction permit last week. And it sounds like the easement agreements were sent out to the property owners a couple weeks ago. So once we have those easement signatures, we can go ahead and get this project ready to bid. Are there any questions on any of those projects?
Third Street sidewalk. Under that first bullet point. So there's a total funding of $1,177,500. I'm missing the math. It looked like it should be about $1.3 million.
If you had the two up, you're saying?
Yeah.
Melissa, did you hear that question?
I did, and I can look into that. That number is taken directly from the DOT website. That's the amount of federal funding that we have to spend on the project. So I can do a breakdown and send that email to Jeremiah to share with you.
Thank you.
I had a question on the sanitary sewer rehab on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Will some of that be open cut and some slip lining involved?
That's right. So we're trying to line as much as possible. There's a big segment that goes under quite a few buildings. So the idea is to line that in order to just keep it as simple as possible. Downstream of that, there is an area where the sewer is just completely collapsed and pieced together essentially. So that part is going to be open cut and we're just installing a parallel sewer essentially. And that's what the easements are needed for, is that section unfortunately overlaps several properties. So that's why there's a handful of easements needed.
Thank you.
Yep.
Questions, comments? Thank you for that update. 7.2, resolution 2025-06. Approving the hiring and setting the salary for temporary full-time public utilities operator for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025.
Jeremiah, just brief me a little bit. This is a temporary position for a year, right?
Roughly, yes. Temporary position, sorry.
It does not have a term date attached to it though, correct?
Steve, how do we do that? I believe we did a term to it. It's just, we're not exactly sure when the start and finish is going to be.
The end date is September 1st, 2026.
So does this person have any experience or?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that this person has is a Class B CDL and has some construction and equipment background.
Steve, is the proposed starting wage then, does that reflect the level of experience then? Or is that just the,
That's where we advertised at was $20 an hour. Cause there was we didn't want anybody with licenses or anything like that. We just,
At the end of that 90-day probation period, then would there be a plan to increase the hourly rate at that time, or?
right now, no, the only thing that would fall into that would be the raise at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
Motion by Dan, second by Todd. Further council discussion?
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Public comment? Gina, please.
Tukin?
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Yes.
Motion to approve hiring. Motion to approve the hiring carried. 7.3, resolution 2025-07. Appropriating funds to outside agencies under the hotel motel grant program for fiscal year 2026.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Kay, second by Rich. Council discussion.
Jeremiah, these were the matters that we discussed a couple of weeks ago with some. Do we increase a couple of them based on projections?
We did. So the requested amounts were granted to each of the requesting organizations, with the exception of Jones County Senior Dining. That was a slight increase just based on the amount that we project we'll have. So it was rounded up to that $5,000.
Thank you.
Other questions? Public comment?
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
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 Motion to approve allocation carried. 7.4, review and approve professional services agreement number 3 from HR Green in the amount of $10,900 for additional engineering costs necessary to proceed with the Ford and Huber Alley Sewer Project.
Would you like me to stand up here and introduce it at all?
If the council has questions or comments for you, yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion.
We're gonna have a full-time inspector on this project.
It's not full-time, it's part-time, so I forgot the exact hours that, depending on people they're working. So, that's part-time.
Thank you.
Anything else from council? Public comment? Eva, please.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Motion to approve the agreement carried. 7.5, review and approve professional services agreement number 4 from HR Green in the amount of $663,200 to proceed with the Cedar Street reconstruction project.
Just a quick point of clarity on this, Councilman Crump brought up at the beginning of this. There may be some confusion on this. The amount of the actual amendment is $73,200. So by approving this amendment, usually approving $73,200. The estimated project costs, so what's included in your packet was originally believed to be $663,200. I added one additional amount. If you see on the email that was in the packet, it said that the project could be cut approximately 66,000. I added all of those together to come up with that amount. That's an error on my part. So by approving the 73,200 amendment number 4, the associated construction costs that go along with that are roughly 597,200. So again, they're kind of tied together. One goes with the other, but the actual amendment to be approved is the $73,200 amendment.
And this will tie into the sewer project since the street's gonna be kind of tore up anyway, correct?
Yeah, Haley or Melissa, can you clarify? I mean, I believe we're just kind of piggybacking off that project to save some costs, but they are technically two separate projects.
Right, yeah, so because the alley sewer project goes directly through Cedar Street, and right now is a really good time to bid and everything, it just makes sense if you guys have the budget to take that Cedar Street reconstruction and basically incorporate it into the sewer project.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Further council discussion? Public comment? Gina, please.
Lambert,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
A. Smith,
Yes.
Tukin,
Yes.
Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith.
Yes.
Motion to approve agreement carried. 7.6, review and approve change order number 1 from WRH Incorporated in the amount of $200,001, $201,787.77 for the Flow EQ Basin project.
I believe everybody got in the memo. This change order is just a result of the elevation issues caused by soil problems that weren't suspected or were discovered until they got into this. To have Nick with Snyder here if there's any specific questions, but can't remember the terminology that was used, but the bad soil is problematic.
Hello, Nick with Snyder Associates. So as Jeremiah alluded to, when the contractor started digging in, we found that the bedrock was actually 2 feet deeper than what our soil borings had shown during design that we had done during design. This obviously then also adjusted some of the depths of the unsuitable soils that we kind of knew that were on site, but they were deeper than anticipated. So what you have in front of you is a change order that's of a maximum not to exceed for additional excavation and removal of unsuitable soils and replacement with structural backfill. We are still working through the exact depths of where we'll go to. We've kind of pushed this along due to scheduling. The contractors trying to get the site prepared for April 7th when the pre-stress tank contractor is going to show up and start construction of that portion of it. So the goal is, and based on some of the preliminary information that I do have, I think this number will adjust downward. To what extent, I'm not comfortable saying at this point. I don't have all the information yet. So hopefully I'll have some of that tomorrow. We can kind of start working through that and can provide an additional update to the city this week.
Extra cost maybe associated with bedrock removal problem?
No, actually, we would just want to go down to bedrock. This is just getting to what we would consider suitable soils. We had already had in our design to remove several feet of unsuitable soils, and unfortunately, I don't have answers from our original geotech, but they were off by 2 feet. So then that threw into a lot of questions about is all the information correct in our soil borings? So we went a little conservative for an additional removal and replacement of structural backfill than the 2 feet that we knew that was off. Just so we were covered, and we'd have to keep coming back if we did find that there was additional unsuitable soils.
I'm just kind of curious, how did they miss it by 2 feet?
That's a good question. I do not have an answer for that.
What's an example of unsuitable soils?
So in this case, because their tank is so large and heavy, it could be anything from clay materials or just fill materials from other projects that has debris. Some of it has debris in it, leftovers from other projects been dumped there. If it's, if it was more of like a sand material, then I think we would be okay. Clay compresses too much when you put that much weight onto it.
Thank you.
Do you
I
know,
remember right, that whole area down there was a city dump at one time. We built the room on fire.
do you know how many borings they took?
We originally took 3 during design, which was what was recommended to us. Since then, between 2 Fridays ago and last Friday, there's been another 5 or 6 done in different spots at different locations just to try to hammer out where some of the soil stratas actually are. Since our original ones are off, we found that maybe most of the issues are on the kind of the north part of the tank. As you go south within the tank, it does seem to be they align a little better. So I don't know why we have 2 borings that are off and one that is good. I looked at the different elevations and our survey elevations match up with the top of their survey elevations. So something happened to throw off the layers on a couple of the borings.
I'll need you to educate me here. The samples that were taken, would the objective of those samples be to detect the bedrock?
Correct.
Means you want the structure to sit on that?
Yep.
So if just 3 samples were taken, would one assume the problematic area, there was not a sample taken in that area?
There was.
There was.
That's the frustrating part on my part is where we are off is pretty much right where they took a sample.
So then they obviously they did not sample to the bedrock if they're now 2 feet short.
Okay, so the information they provided said they want to auger refusal. So that means they did go through and hit bedrock. I don't know. I don't have an answer as to why it's 2 feet off. I'm sorry.
Understand you
Yeah,
can't speak for someone else.
right.
Could we receive a detailed report as to why the samples?
I'm asking them currently. So, and then like I said, we are currently working with the contractor and their geotechnical engineer to provide updated information. So once we kind of get all of that finalized, we'll make sure that we get that to you guys so you know what's going on. Along as if we are able to adjust this number down, we'll also get that information to you guys. So
Did we pay for that boring, the original boring?
it was a part of our contract, so it funnels through our professional services.
I'm just wondering if, since they didn't really hit their target, whether there's some recourse there, but
Well, the unfortunate part is, and I don't know how much you've removed, but like if there's a potential that wherever they did do their boring, I don't know, maybe there's some buried cement or something that
sure.
at that one location. So it might be that instead of just doing 3 samples, we should have done a pattern or multiple samples of just to see. Because 3 might not have been enough and evidently wasn't.
Looking at the 3 samples, I mean, it would have made sense where bedrock was if you would have just taken a look at the 3 samples. I mean, the elevations was only about 6 inches difference on the bedrock elevations between the 3. So just looking at the paper, it all makes relative sense. I don't have an answer as to why when we started digging, there was that kind of a discrepancy. So yes, we could have taken more. And if they would hit the same, they could have hit the same issue and we still would have been sitting here having this discussion.
Well, there's no doubt that the cost of this project would have increased if that information was known.
Correct.
Because it's-
Yep.
It's work required.
Yep.
Well, we also know how work orders work,
Sure.
after the fact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
This
I'm
number could,
hoping that this comes down. And I'll use the word rather significantly. Because had we known this up front, I doubt it would come in at this level. So we'll all go through this fingers crossed,
sounds good.
providing council approves.
Correct.
But in order to move forward with the entire project, we have to have this done because we can't do anything with the basin itself until we get this done.
Correct. I mean, in theory, you could deny this, we would build it as is, and then we would, I guess, you would take the chance of differential settlements, then causing issues with the tank, so I wouldn't, it would cost you later, essentially. This would be a much cheaper option than dealing with the issues later.
Pay me now, pay me later.
I don't need to tell council, but it's in our best interest to move forward with this approval, so we're getting a quality product when it's all said and done.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I got Todd on the motion.
I'll second it then.
Thanks, Rich second. Council, further discussion. Is there any public comment? Gina, please conduct the roll vote.
Crump,
Yes.
Highsmith,
Yes.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
Yes.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Robert.
Yes.
Motion to approve change order carried. Nick, thanks for coming before us this evening and answering the questions we had the best of your ability. We'll look forward for any reports that you can provide. And that would give us a little bit more insight or detail into this. 7.7, review and approve school resource officer 2080 agreement between the city of Anamosa and the Anamosa Community School District.
Just for the council's information, this is the attorney reviewed 2080 agreement. Some minor changes to it. He also noted just a few points on this. I can go through those if the council wants me to. There was nothing substantial. At this point, it sounds like I did forward this along to Mr. Hammond, so the school has a copy of it anyways. Before the council makes a decision on it. There may be some additional points that they would like to bring up, but I did not want to delay this on our end. So I guess my plan is if this is approved by council, I will formally get it to the school. If they have amendments, we can get those back to the attorney for review and back to the council for approval. Any specific questions on the agreement itself?
So what exactly are we approving? Are we saying that with this vote, we're approving the position of an SRO? Or just that we are approving this agreement to be looked at by the city or by the school board?
So I think this vote would be approving the SRO position. Essentially, at least from our end, we have to have the school review this. Sure they're okay with it. I guess I'm thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead because if this is sent to the school and the school board approves it at their next meeting, in effect, we will be doing signatures at the following meeting. So I guess there's a couple of steps left in here, but yes, this is what our attorney has reviewed and I guess put the stamp of approval on it to proceed. I think if the council is good with that and the school is good with that, we will be proceeding.
I move to approve.
Motion by Brooke, second by Dan. Council discussion.
I'm gonna throw it out there. this whole process to me has felt like the tail wagging the dog for some time. I am not sure that I'm entirely convinced that we've got a way to pay for this. I can see handwriting on the wall, so I'm reluctant with this. I guess I would also agree with our attorney's review of this. I do not understand why we are spending 40% of the time at the elementary school if we have an officer on this and not at the high school, because my understanding has been with the data points that we've been provided that the calls are to the high school, not to elementary school. So I think it's backwards. I think we've been playing catch up for the entire time that this thing has been going on, and you all have heard my comments. So I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but I'm pretty reluctant to see where this thing is going to get paid for with what we've got for budget. I'll abide by the council's decision.
Can we ask how was the percentage determined? 40% for Strawberry and 30 for the middle school and 25 for the high school.
We can. Chief Worling might have more on this. It's the only thing I would add just briefly before Chief expresses his thoughts is it does say generally that the goal is this, but is subject to change. So I think that is an operational decision that could easily be changed. And I don't know what the superintendent or Chief Worling's thoughts are, but Chief.
Yes, you're right. It's a guideline that is suggested by the National Association of School Resource Officers. The point is that they want to get the most interaction when they're the littlest, and then as they grow older, then they should need less interaction. But that's only for non-report driven things. So, like if there's a student that has a vape at the high school, that's not included in that breakdown, that 40% at the elementary and on up. That's more for interaction with the students. What are they trying to provide for resources, education, that sort of thing. And it's just a guideline. It's a starting point. It's really going to be based on what does the school need, where are they needed at the most. But it was just a starting point as a suggestion.
What have the calls to the department been from each of the buildings?
I can get you those. I don't have those with me tonight, but I can get those to you.
So this schedule can be adjusted on the need of each school, or if there's something going on, that person goes to that function or event. So it's not set in stone where they're actually being set. They're spending their time.
Exactly. The point was to try to put as much of a framework as we could in the 2080, but still leave it some leeway so there could be some ability to change. So those percentages specifically, let's start there and see how it goes. Maybe we need to switch it up a little bit. And then even the day-to-day activities, like if there's a evening football game, maybe the SRO comes in later on that Friday so they can stay for the football game so that they're going and avoiding overtime, that sort of thing. Again, we tried to write the 2080 so it still had a decent framework, but still allowed some flexibility. Mm-hmm.
Any other council comments or questions? Any public questions or comments? The motion by Brooke, seconded by Dan. There's no other discussion. I'll go to Gina for a roll vote.
A. Smith,
Yes, reluctantly.
Tukin. Yes. Weimer,
Yes, reluctantly as well.
Dan Smith,
Yes.
Bamber,
Yes.
Crump,
Yes.
Motion to approve, carried. 7.8, review and approve fiscal year 26 expenditure budget.
Just briefly, I apologize, best laid plans got away from me this week. So, Steve pointed out earlier today that, the wastewater part of this budget was not included in the packet. It's all on one Excel sheet. When I turned it into a PDF, I must have only gotten half of it. So I thought I was doing pretty good, and then Kale reminded me at the last minute, this before the meeting, I also excluded just the LCC portion from this. I can get those out, and or make an amendment to what is posted on, the website for this. There was no change to what we discussed regarding the LCC budget in our budget work sessions. The only other, additions or comments to this, I believe I expressed to the council, is I would just recommend the removal of the final page of the wastewater, the removal of the 2.4 million after some conversations with the DNR. And then I did add the 10,900 to the line item above that for the alley sewer project. I'm not sure if that will fall into this fiscal year, and actually tried to kind of divide that up, but just out of uncertainty, I wanted to put that in there just in case. So those are the only two changes or recommendations to the rest of the budget, which I've given you a copy of.
I'll make a motion to approve the one fiscal year 26 budget with the recommended adjustments.
Second.
Motion by Rich, second by Kay. Council discussion.
I do have a thought. After looking at the electricity expense here at the library and the LCC, I know we've discussed in the past solar, that for some of the facilities, it wouldn't be practical, but it might be a practical thing in the future for the LCC and the library to help reduce some expenses over the long term. That I think we need to take a look into that and see if it is a viable solution.
You can do that. I will, I'll stop throwing away the flyers that I get.
Here, by full clarification, we take this to the building. There's a final vote of approval of the budget still to come.
Yeah, so.
This is just for you to move forward in this next phase of the budget.
Yes, I apologize, probably should have taken a couple of steps back. I've only been in this seat now for the last year or so, just over. I was involved in last year's budget process in the year prior, but just for a limited amount of time. The feedback I heard from the council felt very rushed, and we wanted to kind of get our eyes on this a few more times during the process. So this was my attempt to do that, just by kind of doing a review or a recap of what we discussed during our budget work sessions and any changes that were made. March 1st, we will, Gina and I will work this week to get everything finalized. We have to submit an initial part of the state budget form to the county. We're going to do that March 1st. And then there will be a required public hearing as part of the legislation from last year that's newly required, and then a final budget adoption public hearing as well. But once we get kind of all this stuff hammered out and submitted to the county auditor, there's not a lot of time for any more discussions or changes or anything like that. So I just want to get it out kind of ahead of time, let everybody see it again, and have any input that we need to do. And then Gina and I will get working on that. here over the next few weeks. March 1st is right around the corner.
That is.
Based on what Jeremiah had outlined before the council, I would certainly be in support of his recommendation or suggestion to remove the $2.4 million biosolids from the budget. I think, the details sheds some light that we could a la carte this if necessary. Yep, comment question from council. Is there any public input? Gina, would you please conduct a roll vote?
Tukin? Yes. Wyman?
Yes.
Dan Smith?
Yes.
Bamber?
Yes.
Crump?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Motion to approve this phase of the budget carried. Council in closing on this item, you made the right decision. 8.0 City Administrators Report. I don't have any reports tonight. 9.0 Mayor and Council can report. 9.1 Mayor's report. This is not a report, but I would like to extend a congratulations to the Anamosa wrestling team on a fine showing down at the state tournament over the weekend. Crowned one state champion, Mr. Scranton, and also I believe a sibling, another Scranton, finished fourth. So congratulations to the two of them for getting to the podium, as well as the other 6 individual wrestlers that were down there wearing the Anamosa colors. Very proud. 9.2 Council reports. Ten point zero, public comment for items not on the agenda. Point zero, adjournment. See the meeting is adjourned. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to attend this evening.